when you're sitting. Okay, so I'm going to share with you one simple tip, and I'm also going to talk about something that you could use in your everyday activity or when you're sitting, really, in your everyday sitting activity, which can prevent slouching especially at the lower back and mid back as well, really. So I'm talking about kneeling chairs. Okay, so I have got one posture tip for you today, which is just a bonus tip that I've thrown in, which I'll tell you in the end. And I'm also going to talk about kneeling chairs and how it can prevent you from slouching. Because before I go ahead, my name is Swati, for those of you who don't know me, and I am an expert with the spine and posture, and I'm here to just share a little bit with you guys. All right, so going back to our topic of an easy way to prevent slouching when you're sitting. So many of us have heard about kneeling chairs, and they do look like quite a contraption depending on what you're looking at. There's a variety out there in the market. So there are some which have got back and you're still kneeling forward. So basically, you're resting on your shin bone. So there's a padding on which you're resting your shin bones. So that's one. The other one is the one which is doesn't have a back. So you're just on a kneeling chair. Some are shaped. The seat where you're sitting is shaped like a saddle. So basically, it pushes you forward. So the whole aim of the kneeling chair is to get you into a good posture. Because when I'm sitting in a regular chair like this, I can slouch anyways, right? So I need to be sitting up straight, especially when you are like busy with your work or you're so focused on your work, you don't realize that you're actually slouching. Now, what happens with a kneeling chair is when you're sitting there, uh, you are basically putting your spine and your pelvis in a very neutral position. So pelvis is like the lower part, the hips and the part where your lower back ends and your hips area starts, right? That bony ring around where your legs come out, right? That's the pelvis. So Google it if you don't know what I'm saying. So basically, it puts your pelvis and your spine in a very neutral position. So when that happens, obviously your spine is in neutral, you're not slouching, and then you're going to prevent all those postural aches and pains that you would otherwise get. So that's one way of how your kneeling chairs can prevent low back pain or postural decline, or basically, in simple words, slouching, right? And all the effects associated with slouching. Now, the other thing that these kneeling chairs do is, for people, okay, let's go into what is slouching. So, when people slouch, they're actually sitting back, right? So, what is happening is their weight is predominantly on their tailbone area. So, I will teach you after this one simple tip of how to sit properly, even if you have a regular chair. But when you're slouching, just understand that you're sitting on your tailbone. So, you are like, like right now when I'm slouching, my weight is totally on my tailbone. However, when I sit up, I'm not putting weight on my tailbone. However, if I'm on a regular chair, I will tend to slide down again. I will tend to go into the slouch again. So, what a kneeling chair does is, because you are sitting forwards, your weight is off your tailbone. So, if you have issues like pain in your tailbone, or coccydynia as it is called in medical terms, or any issues like that, the kneeling chair actually prevents that as well. Okay, so there are a few other good effects that kneeling chair brings about. Like, some people say it helps with your core strengthening as well, right? So if you want to know the details of other benefits and effects of a kneeling chair, you can go to my blog where I give you more details. And I will leave a link in the description below. And for those of you who are watching me on Instagram, you can go to my bio and click blog, and you'll find the kneeling chair blog there. So you can see that. Oh, yes. So I said I'm going to give you a posture tip. So remember when I said we are slouching, you're sitting with your weight on your tailbones. So what I want you to do is, if you're watching me right now, even if you're watching me in the replay, just comment #replay and let me know if you could do this or not. So what you do is, if you put your hands under your bottom where you're sitting, basically if you sit on your hands, right? So if I'm sitting on my hands right now, I can feel a bony area on the tip of my hands, right? So this bony area is basically sitting on the tip of my hands. This bony area is present on the line of the buttocks, so where your legs are coming out of your bottom, right? I'm talking about the behind part, the posterior part of the leg. So that is the bony area on which you're supposed to sit. And they're actually called the sit bones. So most of us don't sit on our sit bones. So if you have your hands down on your chair right now under your bottom, like if you do it with me here, and you slouch, you will see how that weight goes off the sit bones. Or if I'm sitting here and I overcorrect myself, right? Some people tend to do that. So if I overcorrect myself, you will feel the weight has shifted off those sit bones. However, when you are in a neutral alignment of the spine, the weight is exactly on those sit bones, right? So try and find your sit bones today. That could be something you can do. And whenever you're sitting, try and sit on your sit bones. A kneeling chair, what it does is it sort of forces you to sit on the sit bones because it is inclined at an angle. So you have to sit forwards. You cannot sit backwards, otherwise you lose your balance, right? So kneeling chairs, your posture cushions. I have one right here. This one. So it's like a wobbly cushion. So if you sit on it and you cannot maintain your position, basically you're going to fall off the cushion, right? So all these contraptions actually help you maintain your spine in neutral. However, we were originally talking about kneeling chairs. I just went down one way. So if you want to know more about the kneeling chairs and how it helps you to prevent slouching and does slouching related back disorders or pains, go on to my blog, have a read, and yes, feel free to ask me any questions you have there. Okay, or if you're using a kneeling chair, feel free to pop into the comments what you feel about it. Do you actually like your kneeling chair? What brand are you using? Let me know. I'd be very interested to see the actual effects in place. So I have used the saddle type before, and it did help, but I realized I had to gradually ease into it because it was a bit of challenge for my back then, because I had just got off. Well, I had just had my first child, so my back wasn't as strong as it is supposed to be. So, anyway, if you guys are watching me on Instagram or Facebook and you like what I'm talking about, go on to my YouTube and then please do subscribe if you like the videos, and press the bell icon so you can be notified of any live videos in the future. Alrighty, guys. So I hope that was useful. So remember, kneeling chairs are a good idea. However, read the blog and see if it is your cup of tea first.